today we are going to talk with Maki, who will introduce herself. So, welcome, Maki.
Thank you, Victoria. And thank you so much for inviting me to this video webinar. And my name is Maki Kobayashi. I'm originally from Japan, but currently living in Stockholm, Sweden. And I'm a freelance business consultant for the Nordic companies who are interested in entering Japanese market. I'm providing some advisory service, and also to the Japanese companies who wants to invest in the Nordic startups. So it's both directions, but for the Nordic companies, I help them to enter Japanese market.
So, you're working both with startups and companies that are exporting to Japan and from Japan to Sweden as well.
Exactly, because I can see like a different interest. For the Japanese companies, like exporting to the Nordic country is not super attractive considering the size of the population. The market is quite small. But here, there are so many innovations going on, like startups, sustainability, green tech, and it's very advanced. So it's quite attractive market for the Japanese companies, like venture capitals and CVCs to invest. But on the other hand, I think for the Nordic companies, maybe market expansion to Japan, because Japan is still the fourth biggest market in the world, like after US, China, and Germany. Now Japanese yen is quite cheap, weak. So things coming from Europe is quite expensive for Japanese citizens. But still, we have big markets and the customers they are good consumers.
I would actually go closer into what could interest Japanese companies in the Nordics, maybe design, but we can go into that then later. Please explain how did you end up in Sweden? What brought you here?
Yeah. So I first came to Sweden like a long time ago, like in 2006 as an exchange student. And I studied at the Stockholm School of Economics as an exchange student. And I got really, there are so many culture shock in Sweden or maybe Nordic countries, how people are having the space, or I felt like the well-being, generally like speaking, the happiness.
Yeah,
Is
right.
because Nordic countries, especially the Finland, is always in the top in ranking in the happiness index. So I could see like people's faces are more relaxed. Yeah, Japan is quite a nice country, and we have many entertainment attractions, but we are also very stressed. So I wanted to like go deep into, what is the secret of Nordic countries? So so I came as a student, but after exchange studies, I went back to Japan and I started my career in Japan. But I had a partner in Sweden. He's actually Spanish. I had this connection. So I came back to Sweden in 2017. And since then, I'm here.
Have you found the secret to happiness in the Nordics? What works best for you or what keeps you here?
I think one thing is that I feel like I can be myself. I can decide my life by myself. But if I'm in Japan, the society is very like we have many small social rules and expectations, especially as a female. And on the other hand, I liked like Nordic countries or like maybe free educations and those kind of things that you can restart your life anytime by getting new studies, or people don't say, oh, you're female or you are too old to start something. Yeah, that part, like I think people in these countries, they can be themselves as they can create their life.
Yeah. Even for children, I say too that you have time. If you choose later to do it, you can do it anytime in your life. You don't have to choose right now. You don't have to stick to that road. Yeah.
And you can also do it in Japan. We are democratic countries, and of course we have many universities, but you can start university anytime you want, but if you pay. But some kind of like social pressures and expectations that we have, and also like we are like island, so our mindset is something of a small island. So yeah, this kind of like mindset is holding our back.
But it's funny because here in Scandinavia, we are looking at Zen and Kaizen and all these Japanese mindfulness. terms that we have learned, like you have probably learned the Danish hygge and so on. And also when it comes to design, there is Japandi, which is it's really trendy in Scandinavia, I think, especially in Denmark, in interior design, for example. Yeah. And
Yeah.
they make fusion with Danish design, so it's really sleek.
Yeah.
Mm.
Exactly.
But then again, and now we go into business. So, what are the biggest cultural differences you have? I know there is so many of them, but the biggest ones, top three, between Japanese and Nordic business practices.
The biggest difference I see is that this hierarchy. I know that even in Nordic countries, the corporate culture is very different actually. I'm in Sweden, so I know that Swedish corporate culture is even more flat, or it seems to be more flat comparing to Denmark and Estonia. It's actually very different.
Yes.
Yeah, but at least I think even if you're first year junior consultant, you can say what you think.
Yeah.
But one, it's really difficult to speak up. So if you have a business meeting with a Japanese company, for example, this kind of online meeting, you are maybe you and someone, and then from Japan, like there are like 10 people joining. Only one or two of the senior person speak, and all the others are being silent. And that's how the culture is. Yeah.
So, hierarchy is one of the most important ones. How about decision making?
So the decision making process is also very, I think the time is very different. It takes much more time in Japan because we need to like, I think, but in Sweden, they also value consensus, but Japan is even more. And in order to make one investment decision, for example, if it's a large company, you have to go through all the related section and get the stamp.
Physical stamp.
Yeah, exactly. So it takes time. That's first thing. But also, if you in the industry conference, for example, maybe you talk to young, brilliant Japanese business professional who can speak perfect English, but maybe he might be the junior in the corporation. And even if he's super open and you could have a great conversation, but maybe nothing will happen because the person who decide is in the senior, like maybe middle-aged guy who might be super conservative and they don't want to make any long decision, very conservative. So yeah, that's you have to see the organization structure who can make a decision, and there is a template for that.
But when it comes to smaller businesses, maybe family businesses, it's also possible to work together with them as foreign partner. How is that? Is it fast?
It's faster. It's faster and it's very different, especially for the family-owned business. The owner can decide everything sometimes.
Yeah,
So
okay.
yeah, so it can be very fast, and also sometimes they are more intuitive and really value the relationship and the trust. So
Right.
if they think the owner or the decision maker think that this is okay, or I like you, then maybe it can be very quick in terms of making decision. If you could make really financially, it looks fine and the number is good and so on. But if this decision maker or maybe the owner think that, oh, I don't like him, then nothing happens.
I think the Nordics are about the same. For them, it's also important to work together with people who they like, who are sympathetic, and who are respectful. But the younger generation, can you see things changing in the recent years? Or is it slow, the process? How do you feel about that?
I think it's changing faster. And also like how people work in the company, their work life is changing quite quickly. Before, in the previous generation, this kind of like lifetime employment was the common debate, which means like you work for the same company until you retire.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a long time. And
Yeah.
and this is a reason why people could be super conservative because you have to stay in the same organization, so you can't make any mistakes. But the younger generations are changing and they are fine with quitting. So they become more fluent. Yeah, the labor market is actually become very liquefied. And their way of thinking is, I think it's getting closer to more Nordics or the global.
It's also easier for foreigners to get in contact with them.
Exactly.
Right. Right. When it comes to decision-making process, as you said, Sweden is faster than Japan. But we all know that Sweden is Europe's Japan, right? So the rest of the Europe, they are really frustrated with Swedish way of deciding where it takes long time, and the consensus is really important, and it's pretty funny. But Europeans, they have lots of myths going on here. We think how it is to run a business in Japan, or how we think how it is to build partnerships there. Can you name a few of them that actually aren't true? Is there anything coming to your mind?
Yeah, I think I just talked to the woman who's gonna have a meeting with a Japanese company. She's in the energy business. It's a startup in the energy, and I think she's gonna meet the large Japanese energy company. And she was so much afraid of making mistakes. And she was learning about the Japanese business culture, and I have to be maybe polite, and how to give the business card and so on.
Yeah.
But the fact is that yes, in Japan, like we have a very strict business culture and very high expectation. But this expectation is towards other Japanese people. And for the foreigners or foreign companies, we think, okay, they are foreigners, so they do act different way. So we actually don't have expectation that much. So even if you behave in your own way, like in your own country, that's totally fine. If you try to respect a little bit, that's enough, because I think generally speaking, like Nordic business people's behavior, it's no problem. So we don't get angry. You don't need to care so much about making mistakes in front of Japanese people.
I see. Can you name some really fatal mistakes? It can be rudeness, it can be something different, where people would feel really offended or not feeling taken seriously enough by the foreign partners. So, what to avoid when trying to find the first partners in Japan?
I don't know. I think, yeah, it's really good question. But the trust is important for Japanese companies. If you don't reply
Okay.
because you're in vacation, and or yeah, if your response is too slow, we see, okay, yeah, but it's also very common as a foreign companies. But we started to think that, okay, maybe this person is a bit untrustworthy.
Right, right. You
They don't
can't
say that,
rely
but
on this person. Yeah.
maybe you get some kind of the behaviors.
Mm.
Otherwise, I don't know, it's a huge mistake. Like I said, that you can make mistakes in front of business people, but being too arrogant is not good. Especially in a small company, the small business owners, they prefer people who are more open and like soft, and yeah, try to cooperate and collaborate.
But I was just going into that. Do you know the 10 rules of Jante from
Oh
Scandinavia?
yeah.
The Danish Norwegian writer wrote a book about it. So the 10 rules, you may not think that you are better than anyone, and don't you be too flashy and all this. Do you think these rules are also valid in Japan as well as in Sweden and Denmark and Norway?
Yeah, yeah. I think this rule is very similar mindset that Japanese people have. Yeah. We also said, I don't know in English, but we say the eagles, the strong eagles hide the nails. So if you really the good the person who have capability, like they don't show it off.
Yes.
Yeah. Those people who show it off, they don't have anything. Yeah. Yeah. And also we value more the people who do it than people who say that. Yeah.
So humbleness is really important. So yeah, these rules are really interesting and a must know ones when expanding to the Nordics or to Japan.
Yeah.
We will.
And I would say that this is my perspective. And I think if you ask the other Japanese business professionals, maybe there are more things that it's a big taboo. I keep thinking about it because it's a good question. I never thought about it. Yeah.
Listen, yeah, yeah. So building trust is the most important factor when expanding to another country. And of course, Japan seems for Europeans, and I guess I'm pretty sure also for both North and South Americans, a mystical country with lots of rules, as we mentioned already. how can I build trust there? So what should we think about? Because we do business as people to people. You don't do business as company to company, right? So I actually have to be trustworthy and interesting for certain individuals. How do I win their heart?
The best is that you can speak Japanese, but I think it takes time though. Right?
It takes time, but it's not impossible.
Yeah. But maybe remembering some Japanese words and try to speak, that's actually gives them a good impression. Like that tiny thing. Yeah, maybe bringing souvenirs or having dinner together. And this is important, actually. Yeah. It's actually the same in China, but I think, yeah, like, of course, if you can't speak Japanese, maybe you need a middleman and like through the middleman, you communicate. But also like after the meeting, you know, have an official, dinner or drinking afterwards.
Yeah.
And then create good atmosphere. And with a bit of alcohol, they become even more open. And this time is actually very important to show your character. Even if you don't speak Japanese, but it shows something.
Yeah. But how does it actually work? Is it, let's say I visit my potential partners in Japan, is it me who is supposed to ask them out for dinner or will they do it by default? How is it actually
Yeah, of
happening?
course. Maybe it doesn't happen in the initial meeting, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe the second time, or if things goes on, or if some project started, it actually happens. Yeah, yeah. Of course, if you visit for the business partner for the specific purpose, maybe they just propose, or you can also propose. Yeah, you can see maybe how it goes. Yeah, but in the initial meeting, or that's always hard for anyone, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So in the beginning, you just have to be really well prepared. You have to have the right service or product to offer.
Yeah, and I think in order to make a business with the Japanese companies or Japanese people, you need like many meetings. Yeah, so start from first, maybe online meetings, like maybe several times, and then in order to move forward, meet offline. Either you try there or they come, and then it goes quite fast, I think.
All right.
Yeah.
After the first drinking together, then I have heard so many stories from China. They are signing documents or their contracts under the table.
Yeah, but I heard
wasted.
that Chinese are even more extreme. Like I worked in the Japanese large manufacturer who has many factories in China. But yeah, how to make Chinese business successful is to drink a lot with the client and or suppliers.
And be with a clear head next day. Very cool. Yeah. So the follow up is really important as you need to meet many times. So the one who is actually more interested in is usually the foreign company wanting to enter Japanese market. So the follow up is really important. Let's take it from the beginning. Let's say I have found potential partners in some area in Japan. How should I get in touch with them? Like literally how? With which tools and how should I?
I think you should first contact them by email. Yeah, that's the most standard, but contact them by email. And then if they don't answer, you can like maybe resend the message. And if you can speak English, no Japanese, you can make a phone call. But otherwise, maybe finding some other people. But the first step is email.
And the email can be in English.
It's nicer to be in Japanese, but it can be in English. But the risk is that they don't read.
Yeah. So we come now to that place where actually it is ideal to find a contact person in Japan, or at least a Japanese person who is the middleman who is helping to establish those relationships and get the first meeting and then do the follow-ups and so on. Yeah. So it's okay. So how the follow-ups, what is too much and what's too little? Can you go into that a little bit? Because some nations, they tolerate a lot. You can start calling every second day, but some, they don't want to have that.
Yeah.
You said.
I think it's people. So it's same as you and Nordics and like Europeans. If something is too much, of course, we feel too much. But I just say do the follow-ups and on time, like prompt. Don't keep the email for 3 days or 1 week. If they contact, like just do the follow-up on the same day or maybe the next day there for the latest. Yeah. And if they don't reply you back, yeah, like maybe after 3 days you make a follow-up, but don't do the follow-up every single, like every 30 seconds. Like you keep sending email like that's not good.
That's not good. That would be marked as spam pretty quick.
Yeah. And also I think one thing is that there are like indirect no.
Okay.
Yeah. So if Japanese companies say that we will consider, that means that maybe the answer will come very late, or maybe they just say no.
I wanted to go into that to ask more about. Actually, Swedes are not very good at saying direct no either. So, have you felt similarities between the Japanese way of doing that and Swedish way
Yes,
and the
I
rest
think
of the?
it's very similar. That's why, like, as a Japanese living in Sweden, it's sometimes I feel it's easy to live here. Like communication style is very similar. Yeah. Oh, let's have lunch never happens unless you push. And yeah. So learn some indirect, word. And if you want to change, like you have to like actually take an action or maybe change the question or maybe set the deadline and try to engage them.
I see. So when we talk about, let's say, Finland and Estonia, it's a huge challenge for us even to invite someone for lunch. And when we do it, we actually mean it. You better be there. So yeah, and also saying no. Also in Denmark, Norway, they're very good at saying we are not interested. Thank you very much. Or you can turn back to us, and then you actually can turn back to them. But they're still way more direct. But when being that direct, how do Japanese react? When we just are like that. We say things as they are, right? Is it received well? Is it received with understanding, or is it seen as rude?
I think it's totally okay. And I think it's nicer to show direct answer because many Japanese companies are, if they have like international business or if they try to expand their business or have collaborate partners, they first reach out to China, India, and those countries. And those countries, it's even more straight. Yeah. And the culture is sometimes very harsh.
Yes.
So I think if Nordic or European people say no in a nice way, I think that's no problem.
Okay, good to know because it's not easy to change our core habits so easily. So it comes with time, definitely, but still. Yeah. So when we talk about decision making, let's say foreign businesses who want to start exporting to Japan and they are looking for people they should contact. So who are these people actually they should get in touch with closest to the decision makers?
Yeah, it's nice to be the closest to the decision maker. And also like this person in charge who got your contact. They try to connect or bring the case to the decision maker anyways. But you just need to understand who this person is. Yeah. And if this person needs more support or supportive documents, then you just provide.
Yeah. When contacting, let's say on general number or general email, how helpful are the ones who usually reply to these mails in finding the right person to get in touch with? Because every company get lots of requires from different countries, different people, and the gatekeepers can be difficult. How tough is that in Japanese culture?
I think of course, it's tough, but comparing to Sweden or Nordics, I think maybe it's easier because they are actually the person who is in charge of checking the email and support the customers, and their customer support is generally better.
I
Yeah,
see, yes.
if you call the number, they take the phone, Because I can see maybe I don't know about the other European countries, but in Sweden, no one takes a phone call, and it's hard to get the reply by this public support email. So I think it works anyway in Japan. And of course, sometimes it doesn't work, and you might need some support from others. But if you are sending email in English, maybe changing to Japanese, it may help. Yeah, so you can do some small things, and also finding intermediate person, or maybe the trade organization like Business Sweden, Business Finland, or Retro, or some those trade organizations and government organization. They have sometimes support. Yeah, so yeah, you can try to find somebody. And if they don't reach or to come back, they have some problem in the company.
Okay.
It's not a good partner.
Time to move on.
Yeah.
Can also happen. But when we talk about the opposite way now, about Japanese companies who are thinking of entering the European market, what are the main challenges they are facing or are experiencing? Can you name a few?
I think for the Japanese companies who want to work with the European companies or who want to invest in the European companies, I think the first challenge is that they also have struggled in the same way, who to talk to, like how to maybe sending email or try to phone, but they never reply back like they do in the Japanese companies. So that's reaching to the person in charge is also difficult for Japanese company. That's also one way. And like even when they come to the trade show or some business events like conferences, maybe like sometimes their they have language barriers, and or they don't understand the kind of like communication rules in European market. Their behavior is a bit different. And also, yeah, maybe sometimes they have a matchmaking tool provided in the conference, but Japanese companies, they just don't see that. I have seen some of the professional, but you can use this matchmaking tool and contact those person. They just didn't know about it. Or there are some small things that the Japanese companies are also suffering from.
So for them as well, it would be perfect to get the contact person from that target country to have with them in fairs and so on. And I can imagine the humbleness again. I was just having a talk with one person who is based in Finland. He's from the UK. And he said too that the Finns have that problem that they're too shy. They don't tell out loud how good their product is, and they're just way too quiet. And it's difficult to stand out and actually make people understand how good their product is. So I guess some help is needed there. Have some
Exact. Yes. And at least Sweden have like very strong style. So the presentation techniques that Japanese companies have, maybe they're sometimes not attractive unless they have Toyota or Mitsubishi. If they have strong reputation, the people here will listen to. But if their business is small and no one knows, and if they do the same presentation, just reading without looking at the people, reading the paper, and like the presentation is through text that you can see. If they do the same, like no one will listen to. So I think they need to like learn how to present their product in English.
Let's say Swedes and Danes, they definitely have no problem telling how good they are. Actually, when it comes to presentations and showing the products and services, and that's in a nice way. That's really good and something to learn actually from them. But when we talk about being visible also in Japanese market, we need to be visible on search engines, websites. So let's start with search engine. What kind of engines do they use in Japan? Where should we build up our SEO up?
It's Google and Yahoo.
And Yahoo too. Okay, how widely is Yahoo actually used?
Yeah, Yahoo is the second biggest search engine in Japan.
Right.
Yeah. It's only in Japan.
Yeah. I still know the name.
In a smartphone, the 20% goes to Yahoo.
So the companies, they make sure that they are presented, or actually is Google the one we can simply focus on?
I think, honestly, I think you can simply focus on Google.
See.
Yeah, if you spend the resource and the energy.
Yeah, that makes it easier. Yeah, but definitely have then a Japanese person doing the SEO. So that's important. Yes.
Especially like Yahoo is strong in the news and some advertisement and news. Like even I try. Unfortunately, I can't see Yahoo News anymore from Europe because of GDPR
Oh,
and so on. But people see Yahoo News. So if you make up, yeah, it's hard to be picked up in the press release in Yahoo, but as a media, yeah, Yahoo has very strong,
mhm.
experience.
That's good to know.
But if you focus on the SEO,
Google. Okay. That makes things easier comparing to, let's say, South Korea, where they have their own neighbor, which is search
ah,
engine platform, and you really need to be there, which is
yeah,
a completely different story. But when it comes to websites, having a website is very important in Europe, also in Northern Europe. And we have, of course, Northern Europe has its own sleek style again, doing things there, the branding and everything. Is it important for the business who wants to expand to the Japanese market to have a website?
yes. It's extremely important. It's a nice website in Japanese website. If you are, if your products are especially targeting in Japan, it's nice to have a Japanese website. But of course, like B2B business, yeah, it can be in English and other languages, but it should be professional. And yeah, the website is crucial. For the most of the business people in Japan, if you're working in a company, you can't, sometimes you can't access to the Facebook or LinkedIn or those social media platform
Yeah.
from the company phone or
Yeah.
company computers, and they can only Google. So
Right. Right.
yeah,
Yeah, true. That's a good point. And what about the layout and look of the website? Because it's pretty different, the Nordic websites or European websites versus Japanese style, which is for us, it's there is a lot going on.
yeah.
While in the Nordic, it's minimalistic. Is it important to adjust to the Japanese style?
I don't think so. I don't
Oh,
think. I think like in Nordic design, like the like web design is getting similar. Even in Japan, like the good design website is very similar because they are using maybe same template. Yeah. Some old companies or some old website has very old style website. Sorry to say, but it's very yeah, old style. But recent companies, they are very modern, and it's you don't need to like adjust the design. It's more about the sentences or language.
it did mention that B2B websites, it's okay to have them in English, but does it give extra points or does it fasten the creation of trust if the website is also in translated into Japanese by, of course, a professional Japanese translator? So it is a professional. Actually, is it worth putting effort into?
Yeah, definitely. If you're serious about the Japanese market, it's really nice to have, and you must have. But also, if it's a B2B market, B2B website, and like it may be same as a B2C for some potential business partner who wants to be like the solo distributor, for example. If they see like Japanese website, they might assume that, oh, maybe they already have other partner.
Mm,
So
right.
they we think in different things like by seeing the Japanese websites. And as a consumer or as a customer who wants to use the service, in generally speaking, then if the website is in Japanese, it can create trust, and also we assume that we can actually use or purchase this product already.
Yeah.
But that also means that this makes people to assume that this company is already in Japan. We just
Mm-mm.
assume in that way.
So we need to be more clear in our emails and other communication saying that we just prepared well. We are not in the market yet.
Yeah, I think it really depends on like the business type or entry strategy. But maybe like more than that, when you are in the stage that looking for the Japanese partner, for example, or distribution network, what is more important is the presentation or the white paper, which can be downloaded from the website or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
having that is even more maybe important.
Okay, very good point. Very good point. So that has to be done in Japanese language so that everybody really understands the details and that there's trust for sure.
Exactly. And I think one reason why it can be nicer to be in Japanese is because, of course, many people can understand English, but their understanding level, or maybe there might be misunderstanding.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, to avoid that, it's nice to be in Japanese. And some of the negotiation, it's also nice to be in Japanese or like have someone who understand both language.
Yeah, I guess it's also already in subconsciousness. We just prefer to communicate in our own mother tongue and we simply understand it better. That's what about the social media platforms? Where should, let's say, B2B be and where should B2C companies?
For the B2C companies, like generally they can use the same platform like Facebook, Instagram, Google. Yeah, those platforms for B2C. And LinkedIn, for example, it doesn't work as a B2B platform because
Okay, he doesn't.
it's because not that many people have LinkedIn account. Yeah, LinkedIn is actually a good platform to find the bilingual Japanese. So I've heard for the recruiters who wants to find the Japanese business professionals who have studied abroad or who has like foreign assignment experience or who can speak English, or those people, high skilled people tend to have account in LinkedIn, but the majority of the rest of the people, they don't have it. And also it's not that common to share things on LinkedIn. When I was working for my former Japanese company, it was a large company. I was told by my boss, don't share anything because it shows maybe trade secret. Oh, this employee have this kind of interest. That means the company have this kind of interest. And he was also criticizing other competitors. Oh, this manager is showing his business trip, but this is showing off like where this company is traveling and so on. So it's some company have very conservative attitude on the social media and very careful.
Wow, that's really good to know. But then we only have email and phone as alternatives to get in touch with these people.
Yeah, and maybe going to the events.
Events, exactly, events. So how to
Yeah,
find these people, actually, how to find their contact information, how to find
yeah,
out they even exist. So it's a puzzle. And again, a local person can help
yeah.
best. Mm. Okay. YouTube, is it widely used? Is video marketing something that works in Japan?
The video marketings and on YouTube.
Yeah.
I think for the products, it could work with advertisement, maybe, but not as strong as in the other countries, maybe, because if it's B2C, it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. But for the B2B mm, products or B2B solutions, again, industry people, they can't see YouTube while they're working. Yeah. So it's a waste of videos.
Yeah, it's waste of production.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Good to know again. Yeah, you don't come to that. That's why we are here. Let's now talk a little bit about something really big, sustainability. As you know from the Nordics, it's a huge subject in the Nordics. We're doing everything we can to live more sustainably, run a business sustainably, and we need to record or report everything pretty much. The bigger the company, the more advanced the reports have to be. And businesses are trying to do their best to decrease their footprints. How is it in Japan? How important the topic is, and what is there also done about it?
So in Japan, for a few years, like this SDGs became very known, especially in the large companies. And the decarbonization and green transformation, so-called, is a big issue, especially for the company, like large companies who is doing the international business, because they know that there's a regulation. So they try to meet, adapt to the regulation. So they are making an effort. But on the other hand, maybe in the consumer level, or maybe in a smaller company level, they don't yeah, they don't maybe like care too much about it. Yeah. So more and more younger people are conscious about sustainability, but for yeah, I think it's definitely like different from the situation in the Nordic countries. But I don't. It's the Japanese companies are not fundamentally not thinking about sustainability because in the Japanese business philosophy, since in Edo era a few hundred years ago, this Omi traders have the principles of being good to the three directions. It's called Sampo-yoshi. It's nice to be to the sellers and buyers and to themselves. So they have the concept of creating a value and making good relationship to the all society. And Japan has the country who has the biggest number of those companies who are lasting more than 100 years, which means that if the company is not keep doing harmful thing, they couldn't exist. And I have grown up hearing that the company is creating the value to the society. So if the world is shifting to the different directions, the company have to change. So I think in the Japanese culture and the business philosophy, we have some basics. But of course, the new regulations and the global agenda and the goals, which are created in the Western world, and they have to be translated into the Japanese context, and it takes time. I can say that the large companies are trying to adapt, which of course takes time, like you can other part of the world.
But when we come to the Nordic side, then if there is a foreign company wanting to get into partnership with them, then the Nordic companies definitely check that potential partners sustainable actions or activities or whatever is there or isn't there. And actually they are told to go several steps even back, several, how to say, providers back, actually. So who are the providers or your potential partner and who is provider of that company too. So you really need to track if the products are ethically produced, if they are also environment friendly way produced and so on. Do Japanese businesses actually put attention to that right now? If not, then definitely they will in the future. But how is it the situation right now?
I think it's they are trying, and also this is again like how the reporting and also tracking and documenting all the process, which was like not being tracked before. So when it's needed, if the Japanese company needs those kind of information or change something in order to make a business with this European business partner, I think they want to do that. And if something is not fitting, you just don't do the trading with them.
Yeah, but whatever is done, it's best to post it on the website, have a sustainability page. They do it in the Nordics. Almost every business has a page of sustainability.
Yeah.
That gives plus points and advantage in the competition for sure in Europe.
Yeah, I think in that sense, like many companies are like today having the sustainability page or like what I think maybe still more companies have a CSR page, like right social responsibility stuff. Yeah, so they try to show like they are doing something good. On the other hand, what I have seen in both in the Nordics and Japan and the whole business is that it's easily end up in the washing, the SDGs wash. Or I know that all the Swedish startups pitching contest, all startup have to be impact startup.
Yeah.
But what they do is literally like choosing SDGs logo, which can be like our category, and just put it. So this kind of like a wash could happen if you really want to create the impact and create the business. I think you shouldn't be like too short-sighted. Even if this Japanese company don't have like this logo yet, it doesn't mean that they don't respect. Yeah,
It's well known that in the Nordics, especially the further north you go, the cleaner the air, the cleaner the nature, and all that. And it's well known all over the world and respected and looked up onto. And I have had also impression that the Japanese people, they are into Finland especially. Is that true? Or is that a myth?
yeah. I think it's true. Finland is very popular. for sauna and moomin.
Oh, sauna and movement. Okay, so I just wanted to ask, is it design? Is it the nature? What exactly is that that is the most?
I think design itself, it's maybe like Denmark. I think Denmark, Sweden, and Finland has good reputation in terms of design. Each country have famous designers. And when it comes to sauna, which is now a huge market in Japan, like Finland is the most prestigious one. And Moomin is, yeah, I know that Sweden, if you go to Stockholm, like souvenir shop, they're also selling Moomin, but
Yes.
Japanese
Yeah.
people think more about Finland about Moomin.
Yeah, yeah, yes. Nice. Definitely lots of nature in the north. And Denmark, maybe not so much, but they have the design, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add? We're starting to wrap up. It has been really interesting. I have learned many new things about the business culture in Japan, and I've understood what I should start avoiding whenever I start working more with Japanese people and companies. What would you add?
Yeah, so I think in general, the Europeans especially in the Nordics and Japanese business professionals can really create a good relationship. So you don't need to worry about if you are too rude or maybe create misunderstanding. Like as long as you try to behave as a nice person in your standard, that's enough. But more important thing is that I think IKEA is providing the great success story in Japan because they once tried to enter the Japanese market in like 80s and they fail. And 20 years later, they enter and they become successful. And what they did is they learned to localize, really made effort to understand the market and make small adjustment. But making small adjustment takes cost and time. But sometimes it actually brings good feedback to your business because Japanese customers have very high expectations, but they also value, they know the quality, they value your product if it's good stuff. Meeting their expectation can improve your product. For example, now IKEA has a small showroom in Stockholm in the center of the city, but this concept started from Japan. Like they decided to make a small because for Japanese people it takes time to like travel to the suburb, and they started to make a small concept store in the center of the city, and they became successful. But it's like spreading back to Sweden. Yeah, I think facing to the Japanese customer with high expectation can make your product more, I don't know how to call it, polish your product.
Localize it to the, yeah, especially, let's say, when I look at the websites of Starbucks, Japanese website is very different from Mexican or Danish. And I can see, of course, the products are also different.
Yeah.
So, of course, they keep their core values and their core products and so on, but they still offer different tastes for Japanese market than they offer to, let's say, Danes, and also in different way a little bit. It's cuter and more colorful when it comes to Japanese
Right.
websites.
And also the big in Japan thing is really true. Even sometimes there are some type of business who become successful only in Japan or more successful in Japan. One of the Swedish startup company that I helped to enter Japanese market, their initial target customer was like the global, and they had some big initial clients in Europe. But in the end, only Japanese customers stayed with them. They were super loyal. Once they understood the value and make a good relationship, they don't leave that quickly because they are long-term thinking and they value the relationship. So they ended up MBO in Japan and exit the startup company. So yeah, sometimes that kind of things can also happen. Like yeah, we still search engine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very loyal customers. So
Yeah.
actually, yeah, we didn't talk about that before. There are some countries that are easier to enter because they are easier when it comes to swapping the providers. They do it faster, they do it more lightheartedly. And then there are countries where it's pretty difficult because they're really loyal. They choose someone and they want to stay with them for years. And now I can hear that in Japan too. Once you get in, you are in, unless you do something really nice. Now, the conclusion is when entering the Japanese market, when planning or even only thinking about it, it's a good idea to take an hour or two and get advice, consultation, either to find out is Japan is even a place to go to, or if the plan is pretty developed already, then get the final knowledge so that you don't make those fatal mistakes that can be so simple, tiny, silly things that make one lose lots and lots of money. And after that initial consultation, find the right partner who locally helps to broach the appropriate partners or customers. That looks like a plan, right? Yeah. With Maki, we will put your information also to the description and the links that you provide us. We will put them there so people can find you and learn more about your services. Thank you so much for today.
Thank you so much for thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, yes, thanks. And please enjoy the summer. I know you are soon going to Japan. Enjoy home, your own language, your own customs. It's always nice to get back and get the reverse culture shock, but also to get to eat your own food and so on. So it's always lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.